independent development studios and just get the money. But these are the guys that give you the money, so we'll talk about them. Grace, do you want to give an introduction to yourself?
I'm Grace from TalkingData. I guess a lot of you guys may already know our company from the string of the badge, which was sponsored. So actually, we are the largest mobile big data company in China, providing analytics and mobile ad tracking services for both non-game developers and game developers. And currently, we've already covered 1.8 billion unique devices accumulatively worldwide. So it's really good to be here and share some knowledge with you guys.
Hi, I'm Kyu Lee from Gamevil USA. Gamevil is one of the oldest mobile game companies. We've come a long way with Pocket Gamer. We started doing mobile games since the year 2000. We have around 1,200 people around the globe within 12 different offices. We published under the name Gamevil and also Come to Us. And we have some top grossing titles like Summoner's War.
Just a small one, right?
Yeah, that's small one.
So I'm Shum, Singh, founder of Agnitio Capital. As Jeff mentioned, we're an investment bank based here in London. And one of the things we like to do is find really exciting, fast-growing owner-entrepreneurs in the gaming space and position them for investment from a number of these gentlemen sitting on my panel.
My name is Jeff. I work for a small Chinese publisher called Tencent. And that's all we do. We're a publisher for China. We're looking here, looking for content, looking for investment opportunities. We have a very small European team set up here. I don't think they're in the audience, but otherwise, come to me if you're curious about China. More than happy to share market data and what works and what doesn't.
I'm Kieran. I'm also working for a small company which is called Nexon. I'm very lean and mean, person who are working solo based in London. I'm working for business development and corporate investment for Nexon on behalf of them. And we are focused on PC, but we are not stupid. So we know the way how to focus on mobile. So for example, Dominations, that's the latest successful title so far last year. So and we are looking for the another titles will be the impact on the mobile market hopefully.
Hey guys, I'm Louis from Hibernum. I was actually told this was a panel about making it in Canada. So yeah, I'll do my best. We're a developer, 150 people strong. For the Asian market, we've secured rights to the Bruce Lee license. We recently released Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest worldwide, and we have dealt with multiple Asian companies, so I guess that's why I'm here.
It is. and just out of curiosity, how many people are at Tencent right now, and how many people are at Nexon right now?
Tencent or Tencent Games?
Tencent Games.
Tencent Games, probably 8,000.
8,000. And how many monthly active users on mobile do you have?
So we have two major platforms running on mobile, which is WeChat and mobile QQ. We haven't released the Q4 numbers, but Q3 number on WeChat is 637 million, I think, and mobile QQ is 650.
The reason I wanted to ask that question was kind of a red herring, just to give you guys an idea of the size of the markets we're talking about. And what about Nexon?
Well, actually, headcount employee-wise, I think it's approximately 3,000. I mean, in total, I guess. And the metrics or numbers, I don't know.
Okay.
I know, but yeah.
You can't tell us. And then in the audience, how many people in here are independent development studios looking for money? I want to make sure we're asking the relevant questions. Okay. So I guess I'm going to start with Louis and Shum right now. Everyone at this panel actually is based not in Asia, they're based in North America and Europe. And the primary market is Europe, but there's still certain things when you're pitching an Asian publisher that you need to be aware of when pitching an Asian publisher, whether it's for your market here or whether it's for Asia. If you had to give people the 3 top things of advice, and then I'll make you back clean up and what he didn't cover. Shum?
Okay, I'll try to leave something for you, Louis. I would say really, number one, have a strategy on how you're going to develop a relationship with Asian players. It's really important that you build a relationship. They are primarily based, I mean, some of these people are based in North America and Europe, as Jeff's alluded to, but most of their teams that ultimately decide if they're going to make an investment or work with you on a publishing basis are based in Asia. And so there's a lot of hand-holding and a lot of time and effort that you need to spend building a relationship with not just one person, but multiple people. And I think if you're willing to actually make the effort to go to Asia and meet them at conferences, etc., that really goes a very long way in not only soliciting interest, but giving them the opportunity to really learn about you and establishing trust. So that would really be probably one of the primary things that I would say you should do. And of course, you know, ensuring that all your documentation is in place, having a great team, having a great product, but also very important is playing their games.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, small.
Yeah, my approach around that is whether you're pitching a new game or an existing game that you want to bring to the Asian market is, first of all, know that you don't know. The fact that your game is successful, was successful, will be successful in North America and Europe doesn't mean much of this potential success in Asia. So that's one thing, and get ready to also be a bit like a married couple with joint custody of a kid, because the fact that you're going to them, you need their help designing the game in a way that it's going to fit for their market. Segmentation is a true thing, so they're going to come up with ideas that might not be your reflexes, but you need to be able to trust them and have joint custody of that beautiful baby that you're creating.
I have never heard that comparison.
I actually just made it up.
Oh my God. And guys, I'm going to start with you and lead in the grace, but I know some of the things you look for. What do you look for in a developer, and then if we could add up also too, and how important are KPIs, so I can turn it over to Grace.
I think, yeah, I live in the U.S., so I came out to the U.S. in 2006, so I spent around 10 years learning the Western culture. I think it's very important for the Western players to understand what's going on in the Eastern territories, playing their games, spending a lot of time going to the conferences over there too. We have to speak the same language in order to work together. I think the biggest trouble that we've been finding is there's still a lot of lacking of understanding when it comes to free-to-play. We tend to prefer to work with developers who understand free-to-play first. The thoughts that's going on within our company is like, is it easier to teach Korean developers about how the Western market works, or is it easier to teach Western developers free-to-play? And so we're trying on both ends to create a global success. But it's really hard when it comes when we try to meet Western developers who don't understand free-to-play. So I think I would vote that as the #1 priority.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. So in terms of what we're looking for publishing opportunities is really something new, something more innovative. I think Chinese can't speak for China, but in general, Asian developers are very good at learning game mechanics and just taking micro innovations on top of what's already in the market. At least I feel Chinese domestic developers are lacking is some of the innovation, the creativeness, and new gameplay. So show something different. What we don't want to see is, I don't want to see is, you come to me and say, this is just like Clash of Clans, but with Martians. Or like, this is just like Candy Crush, but with gems or rocks or whatever. No, we want to see a new gameplay, something we haven't seen before. The crazy MAU number I just threw out, those are true, but we're very curated on our platform. We're protective of the player experience. So the entirety of last year, I think we launched maybe 28 games on the platform. So that's, you do the math, 650 million MAU on mobile QQ, 637 million MAU on WeChat, and that's all going to 28 games in the launch.
How many games were submitted a month?
Well, our evaluation team processed 6,200 some games last year. We just did this in our annual review. So, and maybe a third or quarter past their gate, and it goes on to the publishing team and operations team to look at, and that is another biggest hurdle. Maybe 10 or 5% get through that, and it goes to the boss for approval. But the funnel gets very narrow very fast.
And just so you guys are aware, for anyone here who's launched an independent game, no matter what territory you soft launched it in, of the first 100 downloads, 30 of them were Tencent. No, they have an entire department that looks at the app stores all over the world, and as soon as a game is posted, they download it and play it. So that's what you're competing with, just so you're aware.
I'd love to say I'd love to believe we're that systematic, but it's actually more chaotic than he made it sound. But yeah, but we look at a lot of games. Yeah. We have I think there are 32 people team, just plays game day in, day out. Love their job.
Well, I mean, as we are 100% focused on free-to-play, so as Kyu mentioned that, when we deal with the opportunity, we always do value that their understanding level of the free-to-play, obviously. But, and secondly, I think we do value that their sort of, be yourself attitude. I mean, I think there are bloody battle out there in Asia because we are very fast followers. But unlike Asian, like Westerners, they are more likely creative. They have kind of unique concept. But sometimes when whenever I meet somebody, especially last year because of the glorious success from the Supercell, everyone told me that this is kind of something. This is very similar to Clash or something. So whenever I meet them, I really feel I got lost because I expect something more from them. That's why when I meet somebody who deliver or offering something new, something unique, no matter it is monetization plan or look and feel, fidelity, I don't care. But I do value the differentiation, like uniqueness or newness. That's kind of element that we evaluate. I mean the value.
Grace?
Well, actually, I very agree with him on his point of free-to-play because, take China, for example, we know that almost all the games are free to download. So I think for publishers, when they look at the game, comparing games that highly rely on paid download to monetize with those games that has good in-app purchase design, they definitely loves the latter games. So I think free-to-play is very important, especially for the Chinese market. And also, I think for game developers, because I just listened to two great talks from Yuzu and NetEase. They said a lot about the Chinese market, and I think it's very important for game developers to get to know the market before they even contact the publishers. There are hundreds, take China for example, there are hundreds of Android app stores. It's quite complicated. You need to know which are the top distribution channels and the popular game genres as well as the top grossing games. I think that's very important.
That's a really good point, know your market. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question that's been trying to work with an Asian publisher and has hit a block that wants to ask a specific question with advice on how to get around? Does anyone have any question in that area? I'm not sure because we're running late how much time we have. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I just want to make sure that, okay, wow. Everyone here is extremely accessible. So guys, I know one of the things I see when people come and pitch with the Asian market is they don't know the publisher. And they don't understand what they come in and they're pitching a casual publisher, mid-core games, or they're pushing a mid-core publisher, casual games. What is the best thing that people can do to prep for a meeting? Do you want to start?
I think maybe I'll give this question to Jeff because Tencent, they are the #1 publisher in Chinese market. Yeah.
Thank you for putting me on the spot.
Way to go, Trace.
Well done. Yeah, I guess just well, Lou said something about admit it, know that you don't know about the market, but still there is something to be said about doing some homework. So I hear some things like this game works great. The ECPI is XYZ, and the LTV is ABC, and therefore it will make money as long as you direct traffic to it. Things like that. I mean, first of all, user acquisition is something that Tencent doesn't do. We become the big company because we save all the UA. We have a community, we have our platform, we have our user in our system. And the last thing we want to do, or any other the hundreds of channels want to do, is have their user being attributed to other platforms. So none of the platform that the big ones that really matters would allow ads in their games, because that would just drive the user to somewhere else. And so you have to think about if ad revenue is not a viable business model, first of all. And secondly, you cannot spend money in other games to cross-promote, then does your game still work? So those are just some of the fundamental different marketing mechanisms that you have to take into consideration. And it doesn't, there are a lot of things that we take for granted working with European or Western developers and channels and publishers. In China, you have to rethink some of the basic assumptions that we made.
So one of the things that I want to mention is for game building, come to us, we only do a one build strategy. So we don't separate builds per country. One of the reasons why we do that, so when we look at a game, we try to search for games that will work globally. And one of the reasons why we do that is we understand that the developers' resources are very limited. Once you start dividing the build, I think the speed of the development becomes extremely slow, and the size of the team has to grow significantly. And I think most of the developers can't scale that way. So unless you're a developer based in China, I think we tell everybody, let's there's going to be a lot of sacrifices that you may do, but there's also a lot of advantages by doing a global one build. So, and in order to support that, we support 14 different languages, and we do live operations for all of those in each territory. And so game building come to us, we try to build out the infrastructure so that you can submit one build and we can do live operations on a global basis. I know that we may not be the best publisher in China, we may not be the best publisher in Japan, but I think equally around the world on par, we'll reach a pretty good status. And that's something that I think a lot of developers come to me and say, can we publish Asia through you? Can we publish Korea through you? No, we don't do that. We only do it on a global basis, and we built our company around that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because game building come to us would love to have one build for to conquer them all. A lot of other developers or publishers will want different things. So I think that's a key thing when you're making your game. Make sure to build it in a flexible way that at the end you might have a finished product, but you also have that flexibility in case you go with different publishers in the end. So if you're building your full game, don't paint yourself in a corner. Make sure you can release it internationally with one build, but if 2, 3, 4 partners come in for different locations, then you have the flexibility to tweak that game. Because a lot of the time people code in a way that the game is just that, and there's no way it can change, there's no way it can evolve, and that's a major loss of opportunity if you don't get one publisher for international.
I think everything's been said. But another question, fire away.
Okay. One of the things I've noticed with working with a lot of Asian publishers is they will pound you on KPIs. You really, really need to know not just your KPIs, but theirs. Can you guys really expand on that? And that's one thing I've really noticed. It is more of an Eastern thing than a Western thing, really understanding the KPIs. I don't see why anyone doesn't know the KPIs. But if you guys can expand, what's the best way to gather KPIs? What kind of KPIs are you tracking, and what do you want to see when the service provider or a developer comes in?
I think two major KPIs that they look at are, of course, the first thing is ARPU. This is number one thing, and the second is monthly average active users. So monthly active users. So that's the number two thing. If add another one, I would say the payment rate. So there are important metrics that people will look at. The performance of the games. Yeah.
And really, one additional thing too. When you go in, if you don't have any KPIs, you better come in with target KPIs and how you're going to reach them.
Yeah, I think the number one thing for us is retention. If you don't retain the users, you can't monetize them. So, we ideally, like for whenever we launch our titles, we look at D1, 50%, D7, at least 20%. I know a lot of games that target the niche audience may have a bigger drop off in the beginning, but like if it's a game that can hit D30, 10%, I think at least that's considerable enough for us to publish. On the ARPDAO side, I think that's very important too, but I think that's something that you could work together with the publisher. I know a lot of the Western developers, the norm might be in the 10 to 30 cent range, but most of the games that's launching in Asia these days have at least 80 cent plus ARPDAO. So I think in order to succeed in this market where the user acquisition cost is significantly high, I think the games have to have very high ARPDAOs in order to run those user acquisition. And also, if you're not going to waste your money, you have to have good retention. So those are the two KPIs that I would look at.
If I add more, I mean, I cannot agree anymore. Like Q, because there are kind of two different attributes. First one is like money-wise. So I fully agree with the grades, but the retention is so important because it's kind of highly associated with the game attraction. So the more fun, the more game users out there, and they will have a lot of like loyalty toward the game. So we believe, especially for the early stage, we really care about the retention ratio.
Yeah, I think that's something that you have to be very careful with. Everybody tracks data, and if you go to an Asian publisher, or any publisher for that matter, and you take the best cohort you've ever had of all time, and you use that as retention numbers, I mean, there's ways to find out. So, I mean, it's funny because we had a discussion today about this, and we were talking about Magic the Gathering, and I did mention, I mean, the first 5 days are awesome. Why? Because everybody who loves Magic the Gathering jumped on. So those retention numbers are through the roof. But then you have to be smart and say, however, the next days are slightly lower, and then you share that. Because it's useless to lie to try to improve, because in the end, there's always a way to extrapolate KPIs or the result of poor KPIs. So be honest, and it's better to know you make mistakes and how to fix them than pretend you have great KPIs and not do anything about it.
I mean, I would add, if you don't have KPIs and you haven't launched your game, and you're not in soft launch, then you have to rely on other qualitative factors. So either you have an awesome team, you are familiar with the people you're talking to, you build a relationship with them, you are very keen to work with them and listen to what they have to say. I think that's going to go over extremely well, and you're honest about it, as Louis mentioned, that you say, hey, well, we got this great team, we raised a little money, we've looked at your games, we've seen the kind of KPIs you're tracking, and we think with your assistance we can hopefully make a game that satisfies what you're looking for.